In this video, I'm going to show you some Doodly basics. We'll take a tour around the interface and the settings. But first, I'm going to show you the example video that we'll be putting together in this tutorial. Let's get started. On my way home to do this video on Doodly Basics, and this happens. Oh no! Now what? Good news! Made it home, and now we can get started. Here's what Doodly looks like when you open it up. Well, if you're opening it up for the first time, it's not going to look like this because here you see all the files that I have in progress, all the projects I have in progress. Now, to start a new project, what you're going to do is to click on this big plus sign right here, and in that way it will let you create a new video. Right here you have four options. You have the whiteboard, you have the chalkboard, a glass board, and custom. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the whiteboard to keep things simple. Then you're going to need to give it a title. So I'm going to just title this example video because I have no imagination whatsoever. Then you have to give it the correct resolution. If you pull this down, you'll see that you have different resolutions to choose from. See, here you have a Facebook and Instagram where you can do that if you want. You also have custom, which I use for YouTube Shorts. But for this one, we're going to go 1080p. So we're going to click on that. Make sure that constrain aspect ratio is checked. And then you will hit create. Now what you'll see is this is going to open up your first scene. And so let's take a tour of the interface first. Right here you have something called scenes, and if you scroll down here you'll see that you have several scenes that you can choose from. So if you just want a complete scene, then you'll just choose one of these. For our first, this video is going to be a 2-scene video, so I can show you both ways of doing it, and I'm going to choose a scene for the first scene right here. Then you can choose characters. Characters have everything that is living. So right here you can have all the characters that Doodly has, and you can also import your own, which in a later video I'll show you how to do that. So right here is something called props, and these are things like furniture and stools and emojis and all that other stuff, all that non-living stuff. Then you have right here text, and you have a lot of text that you can choose from. Generally, I have favorite text font that I always use. Right here are sounds, and this includes sounds like audio files, voiceovers, and all that sort of thing. This is where I import my voiceover from a separate program. Then right here we have Marketplace, and this is where you can buy all sorts of fun and interesting things if you want to. So let's make our first scene. First of all, we're going to make sure that the scene icon is selected, and then we're going to go down here and look for this scene right here where you have this character standing next to an automobile. So all you'll do is you'll click on it and drag it over, and it will appear on this first scene. Now, the first question you should be asking yourself, if you do, is how do you know how long it takes for it to be drawn in? Now notice that each of these are separate entities. They've just been made into a scene. If you look over here where it says layers, you'll notice that each of the objects in the scene have a different time duration. This one, the car, is 17 seconds. The woman who's this character's name is Amanda, is 3 seconds, and the tools that are next to the car are also 3 seconds. I'm going to pull Amanda down so that she draws in last. So if I want to do that, all I have to do is to highlight it and then pull it down. And when she draws in, she will be last. Now, later on, we're going to see that this scene is a little bit too long, but let's play it and so you can see what it looks like in the preview. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that this is going to be pretty much too long anyway. So the car gets drawn in. And unless you're going to talk a long time about a car, this is going to be too long. But we can change that later on once I get my voice narration in for this. So now it draws on Amanda, and there's the whole thing drawn in. Now, one thing that we need to do before we go on is to take a look at the settings. You have 2 settings. You have settings for the whole project, which is down here, and you have scene settings, which are settings for the individual scene. So let's go down to the settings for the whole project, and we'll click and open that up. Once we take a look, you'll see that we have different hand styles that we can choose from. In the one that I showed you, this is the default hand style, but if you don't like that, you can change it, and we're going to do that right now. We're going to click on Cartoon Hand, and then we're going to click this, and that's the kind of hand that I'm going to be using for this little example. Then you have the title up here. You have video ends when animation ends, so you can either choose that or when both the animation and the audio end. I generally let it go to default unless I have a problem with it. These scenes are going to transition. This one, the default is to swipe left, swipe right, swipe up, or you can mix it up a little bit. Or if you don't want them to transition, and there's some reasons why you wouldn't want to do that. You'll see that in a later video when I show you how you can make things move in a scene. The erase mode, I've set it to smart mode. That way Doodly can choose whether it's going to use the finger or the eraser in order to do that. I leave it there because I really like the way Doodly does that. And for sure, you want to have enable autosave. Whatever program you're using, you probably should have that. Then I'm going to pick Apply. And it says here that settings have been applied. So we have the settings for the whole thing. Now, let's add another scene. In order to add another scene, we will just click on this plus sign right here. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to use props and characters. We're not going to use this scene. So the next thing we're going to do is to click on props. And what I'm going to be looking for in the second scene is a house. So I will type in house and then choose my house. I'll pick this one and then just slide it over. And then there's the house I want to use. Then what we want to do is, let me see, I think I'll want some foliage around my house. So let's try to see what kind of things they have in here. This doesn't look real good up here. I think this garden too looks really nice to put next to the house. So put it next to the house, but of course that looks a little large. So we will just make it a little bit smaller so that it makes more sense. I think I want a tree there. So here are the trees. And let me see, I think I will take this tree, I will slide it over here, and then make it a little bit smaller. So now your tree is all set. Okay, then what we want is we want a character and a dog. So since dogs are considered props, I know most of you out there don't consider that your pet Fido as a prop, but Doodly does. So we will type in dog, and the dog I'm looking for is a doodle dog. If I can, there he is, golden doodle. We'll use golden doodle. This dog's almost as big as the house, so that's not real good. So we'll put the golden doodle down there, and then we want somebody next to the golden doodle. And this is going to be the character that was involved in the car wreck, but since the character involved in the car wreck was a whole lot younger than me, I think we need to be more realistic and find a character that is more my age. And we're going to do that. The character is Mary. So Mary made it home from her car wreck and aged while she was doing it. So we'll put Mary right there. So this is the end of our second scene. We need to look over here, or I want to call your attention over here, to the duration of each of these. So once we take a look at this, we're going to find out that each of these are probably going to be a little bit too long for the voiceover. What I'm going to do is to import my voiceover, which I've already done, and then make the scenes match the voiceover. Some people do it in the opposite direction. They make the voiceover match the scene, probably doing that by using the microphone down here where you can talk directly into Doodly, but I don't do that. I do the voiceover and then I edit my voiceover and then I import it in. So now we have our scenes. Okay, so we'll click back onto the first scene. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import my voiceover. To do that, you're going to be clicking on sounds. And then to import it, because it's not in here yet, we'll click on plus, and then it's going to ask you to navigate to where the sound file is. So I will hit Browse Sound Files, and it's in Doodly Basics right in here. And here's my sound file, Doodly Basics Example Audio, which I've already done. If you want to see how I do these sound files, I have or will have a tutorial, an Audacity tutorial where you can see that. So we'll click on that, and then we'll click Open, and then click Continue. And that brings my audio file in. So we will click on it and then drag it down into the timeline. Now look at the timeline here. Here are the scenes, and here is the audio. Notice that the audio is a whole lot shorter than the scenes are. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to adjust the length of time that the scenes are drawn in order to make this fit this, okay? These two fit together. So we'll start with the first one. And since I've already taken a look at this, I know that we have to get the time in this car down a lot quicker than 17 seconds. As a matter of fact, we're going to take it down to 5 seconds. So you can either write it in or click it down. So I'll just click it down to 5 seconds. Now, I'm clicking it down because notice how your scenes are moving slowly to match the length of the audio. So we're going to adjust this. And so we're going to get this down to 5 seconds. So now our car is 5 seconds long. Now, as far as the tools, we don't really need to have tools take 3 seconds to draw on. 3 seconds is really an eternity when it comes to little bitty things like this. So we're going to pull that down to 0.5. Now, when I did this, you're going to find what the audio says is, oh no, what do I do now, and all that. So I wanted the oh no to start after the car and the tools were drawn in. So that's how I figured out that I was going to have 5 seconds and 0.5 seconds, not just the length of my audio. So then the last one that we have to fix is Amanda, and we're going to give her 2 seconds to be drawn in. Okay, so we have the first scene fixed. Now you'll notice you still have all this that's hanging out over the audio. So obviously we need to make these shorter so that the audio and the scenes fit together. So we're going to start with the house. Right now, the house is 3 seconds long, and we're going to make our house 1 second long. So we'll pull this down to 1 second. And then when it comes to these plants, I never really want my plants to take 3 seconds to draw on, but that's Doodly's default. So that's fine. So the bushes are going to be 0.5. And the tree is also going to be 0.5. Oops, not the bushes. Okay, so we've got the plants where we want them, and notice that this is, almost matching this. And then we'll have the dog. I want the dog to go in first. Oh, good, I've got the dog in first. And then Mary will be drawn in last. So we have the dog, and I made the dog 1 second long. And then Mary, we will have Mary 2 seconds long. Generally, with my physical characters, I usually have them being 2 seconds long. Not always. It kind of depends. I think most of this stuff is personal preference anyway. I'm just showing you how I do things. Now notice that we have these two things are almost matched up. So let's see what this looks like to see if we have to make any more adjustments. So in order to see this whole thing, we will click Preview, and the Preview button will take you all the way back to the beginning, which for us is not very far, and play it all the way through. So here's the preview. On my way home to do this video on Doodly Basics, and this happens. Oh no! Now what? Good news! Made it home, and now we can get started. So that's what the whole thing sounds like, and it looks pretty good. So the one thing I do want to address is notice that it looks really jerky when it's drawing in. When you export it out, it's not going to look that way. So don't worry about, it looking like that. As a matter of fact, a lot of people I've seen online think that it draws too fast after it's been exported out. So what we want to do now is to export it out, and the export, even with these two things, take a little long. So I will be back, here. We'll go up here to File, and when you export, you need to go to Export Video, and when you click on Export Video, it will bring up this Export Video screen. I don't really know why the resolution doesn't default back to what I did the first time, but it doesn't. So we're going to need to put it back on 10.8. Constrain aspect ratio is still selected, and then we're going to hit Continue, and our video will be exported out. So I'll hit Continue, and this is what it looks like when it exports out. Since it's going to take a few minutes to do this, and I'm sure you don't want to listen to me, I will be back, and we will pick up where we left off. Okay, here we are back, and it did take a few minutes to export that video. So now I want to show you what the finished video looks like. On my way home to do this video on Doodly Basics, and this happens. Oh no! Now what? Good news! Made it home, and now we can get started.
So there you have it, a brief intro into Doodly. I hope you enjoyed this Doodly tutorial. Check back for future Doodly tutorials. See ya!